All right. So if I can have everybody's attention. All right. So you should not be touching your cookies. You should just leave them alone. So on your lab, you'll see the very top part. It tells you the layers that we're going to be working with of our cookie, right? So the top layer is going to be your crust. The cream filling is your mantle. And the bottom part is your outer core.
What if you flip it upside down?
What do you mean?
So like if it's upper and lower, then what if you flip it upside down?
Either way, they're fine. Okay, so I'm going to show you what to do using this one up here. So I need all of your attention up at the screen. So you are going to take your cookie. Personally, I like to spin it so that I can get the most cream that I can off. This top, excuse me. So twist it off. You need one of them, twist it off to where you have two pieces that look just like this.
Mine was so good.
All right. So the top one, you're going to crack right in half. So you should have a piece that looks like this.
Mine's already kind of good.
Okay.
Mine's kind of uneven now.
It doesn't matter if they're uneven.
What if this broke though?
That's fine.
Can I eat it?
Not yet. Is everybody to at least this point?
Yes.
Okay. So then you're going to replace it on top of your cookie to where you can't see anything in between. And you should do that for all three of the cookies that you have at your table. So go ahead and do that for all three of them. So you take it, you spin it to where it's coming undone.
What if one of them broke?
You're going to have them broken anyways. Then you should have, excuse me.
Oh, Matt,
They don't have to be perfect, guys. I know it gets frustrating, but if you go really slow, okay, then just use that one. Did you get all three of yours done?
Yeah.
Okay,
That one kind of broke into 3 pieces.
that's fine. All right, so what kind of boundaries do we have? Rylan, what kind of boundaries do we have? We have the ones that come together. Those are called what? When you have two plate boundaries that are heading towards each other and they're going to collide, what kind of boundary is that? Convergent. If you pull them apart, divergent. And if you slide them next to each other, transform. Okay. You should do that to all three of your cookies. You should have a crust that is broken in half that you can do those plate boundaries with.
This one broke in already.
Is there anybody that needs any help?
Yeah, my cookie broke all the way.
Then that will be your, lift the sphere, take your goo and put it right here. And then that bottom part will be
This one.
your top cookie.
That happened.
All right, so I should look at your table and I should see 3 cookies all put back together, but your top layer is snapped in half.
Okay.
Then switch it over and let that be your bottom and put the cream on the other side.
This was the only like good cookie that I got to not have.
All right. You're on camera. You are on camera. You are on camera. So, all right.
See, that one snapped into it.
So on your paper, you should also have the first 3 layers completely filled in. The top 3 layers, Briley, should be filled in.
Does this look good?
That looks great. Okay. Now, if I were, excuse me, I know you're excited. I know it's early and you get cookies first thing in the morning, but I need your attention, okay? So if you take these 2 top layers and you squish them together, I want you to push hard without breaking them. And you should see, much like this, well, there we go. So I want you to do a convergent boundary where you push the 2 layers together. Okay? The first thing is going to ask you to do a convergent boundary where you're pushing things together.
Oh my God.
Listen, you can pay attention or we can do book work. You decide. Thank you. So the top layer, you are going to be pushing together and making a convergent boundary. The second one you're going to make is a divergent boundary. You should be able to see your mantle, your lithosphere, underneath, right? The next one is a transform, and you're going to slide, and you should hear the cookies crumble in between to make that observation of a transform boundary.
What's the first boundary that you said?
A convergent boundary.
Yeah, so
All right, you should have enough information to where you can start the lab. I will encourage you to turn the paper over onto the second page. That spot on the bottom, I want you to make a chart. And on that chart, I want you to write something that looks like this with your 3 boundaries. And then I want you to put your arrows, label them, which direction that they're going as a reference for yourself. Okay? While you're doing this, I also need you to pay attention to the sounds that are making and how you can reference that back into what happens with our Earth as transform boundaries, convergent boundaries, and divergent boundaries happen. Okay? So what do you think? What do you hear with those is kind of similar of what would be going on with our crust, right? Does anybody have any questions before we start the lab? Okay. Have fun. Try not to get too loud. And if you have a question, raise your hand, okay? All right, start.
Wait, do you start on the front page?
Yes, start on the front page.
That's like the same. Yeah, they
Right. Yeah, I think 1 cookie for the next ones because we went through 2.5 of the things. Yeah.
I mean, do you think they can do this? Or, you know what you can do is you can say you each get 1, and you do transform, and you do this, you do conversion. Like, they can do it as a table.
Sounds good. Oh, look at that.
Or you
Well, a lot of them got really vivacious with their cookies.
Jalen, I was like, that looks like a pile of broken Oreos.
Yeah.
The other thing I was going to say is you could say get in groups of 3, and you might want to start your class break and then show the video at the end.
Okay.
Just so that they have time to finish it, so you're not playing that catch up.
Yeah.
If you say if you want to get in groups of 3, and then you group gets 3 Oreos, and then they can each do a different boundary.
And the one you touch is yours. Don't share germs.
you know what? Shockingly enough, the kids don't care.
I know.
Some of them are grossed out by that, and some of them.
But wait, would we put the filling right here?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. Next break.
And I've just learned in my life, I'm like, I think it's gross. But whatever.
No, Mackenzie asked Young Son, she was like, wait, have you had an Oreo?
I know. I tell them the fact that they're vegan. That means they have no animal products.
Yeah.
They have no milk.
Yeah.
And the kids are, what's the cream filling? And it has like chemicals.
And they taste so good.
I know.
Wait, would this one be divergent? Because you'd be breaking it apart.
So this one's now break your upper cookie in half. So we did this one together. Listen to the sound that it makes. What does the breaking represent?
Wait, Earth,
Okay. So an earthquake, maybe.
oh wait, when the plates collide.
Or when the plates collide. Or when they're sliding by each other. Right?
Okay.
Yeah, so next break the upper cookie in half. To do so, listen to the sound it makes. What does the breaking represent?
Right.
Yeah.
So we broke it in half already. So when we broke it, what did it make?
The sound.
What sound does that represent? If you could,
Cracking.
okay. So what kind of cracking noises does Earth make?
Thunder.
Huh?
No, it's not thunder.
When a fault forms and it cracks deep into the Earth's crust, something usually happens as a trigger.
A plate.
Because where there's friction, there's tension. When tension builds up and the Earth cracks, there's a
Volcano.
Earthquake.
earthquake.
Oh, sorry, I was right.
So what did the sound of the cracking represent?
Land breaking.
Huh?
Looks like a two-piece.
So when we have the Earth's crust and a fault is formed, it goes deep into the Earth, right? And where there's friction, there's tension, and where there's tension, it will be released. And when it snaps, what happens? Earthquake. Make sure you sanitize your hands. Sanitize your hands.
What does it mean when it says slide the cookie over the creamy filling? This motion simulates.
What? One more time.
This one, the first part.
Okay. So the crust over the soft what? Yes. Right, because we went over and put the layers right here.
And,
So it's referencing the layers.
Is something supposed to happen? Because it says slide apart, and don't you push down and slide apart. Nothing's happening to the creamy filling,
So if you're in a divergent boundary,
except for that.
what are you going to see?
It's splitting apart.
It's splitting apart, and you'll see the lithosphere down to the mantle, right?
And then the lava would come up.
Right. Which is why I got orange.
I do want to ask, what should we do once we finish the worksheet?
I would work with a partner, maybe help and see maybe if they didn't understand. And then,
Okay, by the way, I love your outfit.
thank you. Okay. Do you need some help? Okay. I built this lab as a junior in college. So Dr. Staples had us build our own labs and be able to present it to people so they're not like, and this is ironic, but cookie cutter labs where like it's the same thing over and over and over again and you follow instructions and everything. So we had to make up our own labs. The one that was here was originally with pudding and graham crackers, Miss Webster?
Yeah.
Graham crackers. And that would have been super messy.
I have a question.
So I thought this was a really cleaner, put together one. And I was like, hey, I've done this before.
So it says when
Yes.
you, like, I think the cream stays the same.
Okay. So when you're pulling it apart, okay, in a divergent plate boundary, when the Earth's crust opens up, what do you see?
It's sliding apart.
Right, but we see the lithosphere, which is bringing up magma from the mantle, right? So that's kind of why I got orange also. So this is what you should be noticing. You should be noticing that the inside of the lithosphere is exposed.
Oh, okay.
Okay? And when they collide, it can bring some up with it, and that's normal. And then it should crunch and kind of deteriorate, which is a form of what? How do mountains break down and get all their jaggedness? What do we talk about? Starts with the E.
Earthquake?
Erosion.
Oh, erosion.
Right. So as they're coming together and this part will break down and crumble, that's your erosion. And that way you'll just be having a peak left, and that is your mountains. Because convergence build mountains, right? Sliding them apart, you should hear the sound. And then you notice that you don't see anything underneath because they are touching each other the entire time. Does that help you?
Yes.
Okay.
We're allowed to eat it when we're done.
When you are done, we will go over them and then you can eat them. Quickly.
I'm done.
Okay, we're gonna go over it together and then you can eat them. Yeah, we're gonna go over them real quick though. Is everybody pretty much done with? Okay. We have about 10 minutes left. Yeah, bless you.
I'm tired. Oh, this broke off again.
Oh no. I love that it's sitting right in front of you and you're just being so patient. I really appreciate that because he really wants to eat it.
I told her to put it in water.
And water?
He said it would be nice and soft and soggy, and it would be like,
Yeah, soggy is the word.
He asked if he could have one of my cookies to make it soggy.
Oh, no. All right, so we're on convergent boundaries.
I'm gonna give up on trying to put this one back in.
Huh? Yeah. Are you hurting?
Yeah, my hand. It's just still tingling my hand again.
Okay, where are we at on our stuff? Are you done?
Yeah.
Okay. Let me get your planner because it might take you in between classes.
Possibly, but I don't see that happening. You know what I mean?
I only had a student teacher once, but now twice.
And you know, it's a hit or miss thing. It could be like you can have a great student teacher, or you like I had a friend
yesterday,
who teaches elementary, and she's had 4 student teachers, and she has failed 2 of them because they weren't very good.
So I start cleaning up everything.
Then you don't have a good teacher that year. So.
Hopefully that's not the case here. Hope you don't feel that way.
No, I think you have to film it.
We do. Can we eat the cookies?
If y'all are done, since everybody's working, yeah, y'all can go ahead.
Wait, we
You can
can
take
eat
that
the
with you.
cookies?
Yes. All right, if you are done, give me a thumbs up. Okay, if you are done, you can go ahead and eat your cookie. I would encourage you to probably start having some open conversations if you're a little stuck or confused with your table so that everyone can finish on time. And when you are done with your napkin, please throw it away. I love you like my children, but I do not want to clean up after you like my children. Okay? So this part is referencing the different layers. So this is going to be representing what? The upper cookie represents what?
Crust.
And then when you slide it over, you'll expose what?
Man.
Okay. Did you check yourself before you ate it?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't want to get in trouble. All right.
I'm being weird.
You don't like the cream?
I do.
Oh. I was like thinking you were the one person that would prefer the cookie over the cream.
I do.
Yeah, most people do.
I prefer the cookie over the cream.
Really?
I prefer both.
I prefer both. Don't all the way to my fingers are totally wet in milk.
Yes. Not with Oreos though. That's gross.
That's my go-to snack. I hide Oreos from my kids.
My dad does.
Yeah. Thin Mints? Yeah, but you can only get those from Girl Scouts once a year. But you only get them once a year unless you buy like crates of them.
Yeah, I do.
Oh.
Buy a box and it's like
We usually buy a box and we get half Samoas and half Thin Mints because my husband loves to take the Thin Mints and he crushes them up really small and makes mint shakes, milkshakes.
family likes this thing.
Yeah.
We get tons of Thin Mints.
We get a lot of
All right, is there anybody still working? We have about 5 minutes before we're released. Is there anybody still working? Okay. So let's go over this. And then we can turn it in and make sure y'all are cleaning up after yourselves. So what did you notice about the transform boundary? What was different about that one than the divergent and the convergent when it came to moving the plates?
It slides past each other and it doesn't go.
Right, so you didn't see any of your mantle, right? What was the sound that it made? Like a crunchy slide, like crumbling sound. That happens with our lithosphere and our crust. As those plates move, those are kind of like the same sounds that they're making. Did it get a little difficult sometimes to start moving them past each other? Did they get kind of stuck? At the very beginning, it kind of stuck, right? Why do you think that is? Why do you think, Riley, when you were sliding those transform boundaries next to each other, Alyssa, that was making that stuck feeling?
Because when you slide
Excuse me. Thank you.
When you slide them together, it comes up and it feels like it's like stopping it, kind of.
So what do you think that stopping represents? Is our crust perfect?
No.
Is it cut directly in a line?
No.
It's going to be jagged, right? Yeah. And as they're sliding by each other, they can sometimes get stuck. And what was that first paragraph on there? Where there's friction, there is tension. And when tension builds up, things will snap. What happened when you finally pushed it past each other?
It broke.
It broke. What do you think that represents?
Plate tectonics.
Plate tectonics. And what phenomenon does that trigger? Earthquakes. All right. If you haven't already, you can go ahead and eat them. Go ahead and turn these into the basket. Clean up your area.
I ate mine as soon as you said eat them.
Well, some do. All right, as you come back down to your seats, a couple of things I want to remind you. Tomorrow, we will be doing a Google Classroom field trip. You will need a electronic. We have a computer cart coming to the room, but if you can bring your own computer, that would really help. Yes.
Here's my finder and here's the print sheet.
Okay. I'm already.
It was weird. I thought I didn't know.
All right, go ahead and sit down.
Is it because we pushed?
So what are we bringing tomorrow? Computers. Where does any paper that I've given you back go? Graded work. Okay. Make sure whenever y'all exit that y'all are pushing y'all's chairs underneath the tables, please. That would be very helpful. Yeah.